So it's one day before Last Epoch 1.0 releases, and I have thoughts because I have played the game the entire weekend. I spent playing the game. I played for around 15 hours, I think, which is not hardcore numbers. I'm not a hardcore gamer. If if you want a more hardcore um, um, if you want comments from a more hardcore player, you can go to Darth Microtransaction, Rex, even Asmongold. There's a few more ARPG content creators, but I'm not that hardcore player. So this is a video from a casual to casuals, I guess, or from a person who just started playing Last Epoch to a person who may be considering playing Last Epoch or is just starting playing Last Epoch. Um, so I have thoughts on the game. Overall, I'm enjoying my time more or less. um, and I think it's going to be a very successful game. I'm enjoying my time. The only thing well, let me start by saying this is not going to be a review. This is more like impressions that I've gotten on the game, like my 15-hour impression. And overall I think it's a decent game. It's good. Of course, it's a early access at the moment. Like I mentioned, 1.0 is coming out tomorrow. So it's in early access and it shows it has its little things here and there that don't look very good, or some some stuff that are clunky and such, but overall decent game. Sorry, I got my coffee here. So overall decent game, very good. Yeah, decent and very good are not the same thing. I'm gonna say more like it's a very good game. It's a solid game. I'm expecting it to be much better on release in certain technicalities, but let's leave that aside considering it's an early access game. And overall, I think it's very good. Now, um as a hundreds as a 100 hour, hundreds and hundreds of hours of Diablo 4 playtime, how do I feel about Last Epoch? That's one thing to consider is um because it's not, I don't think it's the same if you just come fresh from like and play Last Epoch and have an opinion. It's different than from being a player on another ARPG and coming to Last Epoch. It changes the perspective because you have a point of reference to kind of have an opinion. Now, I'm not gonna compare. I'm not gonna, my impressions on Last Epoch are not gonna be comparisons, but other games help me define where Last Epoch sits in the ARPG spectrum, if you will. Now, I'm going to explain myself. We have the ARPG genre, and if we consider, I'm going to say the main games that everyone is talking about at the moment: Diablo 4, Last Epoch, and PoE, Path of Exile, right? So, this is a ARPG genre, action RPG. So, here's how I kind of differentiate, especially Diablo 4 and PoE. Diablo 4 for me, it's an action RPG that it's much more action than RPG, given that its RPG elements are much simpler than its rival, let's say rival, quote unquote, PoE. Now, PoE, it's much more RPG than action. And the way that I see this is because of its gameplay. The reason why I fell in love with Diablo, and its time it was Diablo 3, was because of its gameplay. And it's I'm not being subjective here. I think we can objectively say that the combat in Diablo 4 is the best combat overall in any ARPG or similar game. Its fluidity, how it's how it reacts, how punchy it is, how fluid it is, and how everything works together, and how you kind of just fly by. You know, it's miles ahead, intentionally, I think, from games like Last Epoch and games like PoE. PoE is a much slower game. It's not necessarily, it's much more difficult too, but the the real complexity and the real deepness of PoE, it's in its system, in its RPG system. So that's why I say in the spectrum of action RPG, Diablo it's more action and PoE it's more RPG. Now, Last Epoch, where does it fall? Everybody's saying that Last Epoch lands right in the middle of these two games. And having played around 15 hours of Last Epoch, I'm gonna say that in terms of its systems, its progression, when I say systems, I must be clear. Its progression system and itemization and such. I think that yes, Last Epoch falls right in the middle. Because you don't you have the flexibility and complexity that PoE, not complexity, the flexibility and diversity of builds that PoE offers. You have it presented in the simple way as Diablo 4 presents it. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Let me repeat myself there. Last Epoch, I feel, in terms of its progression system, its skill trees and such, provide the deepness and the complexity, the diversity of builds that PoE offers in a way that's simple to digest and to use and to work with, in the way that Diablo offers it, that simple, approachable way. Those are my thoughts on in terms of the systems, the progression system. However, the RPG part of it, right? I'm talking about the RPG part of it. Now, the action part of it, does it sit in the middle between Diablo and PoE? I gotta say, after playing 15 hours of Last Epoch, and I don't know how many hours of PoE. Let me just check real quick. How many hours of PoE have I played? So here you are. Okay, so I've played around 30 hours of PoE. Okay, so not much. And I'm saying around because I'm looking at the numbers that I have in my Steam. But I remember that the first time I played PoE was on my PlayStation 4, where I spent a few hours too, like a decent amount of hours. So I'm gonna roughly say like 30 hours. Now, so not much at all. Not much at all. But I think enough to kind of understand at least the combat. I'm not gonna say the RPG elements, the progression system of PoE, because it's very complex. I didn't get to see like all of its complexity. However, I've seen it online of, content creators, people explaining it to me. I saw some guides too, so I kind of know how, well, not know, but I've seen how deep it gets. So, yeah, having played 15 hours of Last Epoch, I'm gonna say that the combat doesn't sit really in the middle. I think it feels a little bit more PoE than Diablo 4. It's a little bit it's clunkier, it's slower, it's not necessarily similar to, in my experience, I don't feel it as polished. I'm gonna say, I don't know if polished is the word I want to use, but as fluid, as, I don't know, as responsive as Diablo's combat. um it's much more hack and slashy Diablo than Last Epoch. So that's how I see it. Now, if you're a PoE player, are you going to like Last Epoch? It depends. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure because, again, it does sit right in the middle, but I think, um I may think that I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say that if you're a PoE player, you're just gonna stick to PoE. That's my thought. Now, if you are a Diablo player, will you like Last Epoch? And I think you may want to give it a try. Diablo 4 for me, I'm not I think for now I'm sticking to Diablo. Um but I do have to agree that Last Epoch provides, in its progression, a little bit more excitement than Diablo 4 at the moment. And here's my point of view here. I'm gonna explain a little bit more about that. So for me, Diablo 4 still feels kind of stalls a little bit once you get to level 50. Um I feel like once you get to level 50, yeah, you start the Paragon system, or the boards and such, but it kind of loses its, I don't know. It stalls a little bit, and for me, still going from 50 to 100 feels, really pretty much like a slow burn. And it really gets a bit stalled. That from going from level 1 to 50, there's always this excitement of, okay, you have a new ability, you have a new skill, you have a new passive, how this is going to work. And still in the itemization, you kind of start, you know getting to know the aspects. At least that's for me. I know the hardcore players, know everything. They know everything that there is, but I'm still a player who discovers stuff. Like, I just created for the last season, season 3. I created a sorcerer, since the first sorcerer since launch, because a source the sorcerer was my first character that I created when the game launched. Then I season 3 was the second time I created a sorcerer. So, and I kind of felt like I was experiencing something new still, because it was a different build that I did than that one that I did back in the days when it launched, etc., etc. Now, hardcore players know every build; they know about, by heart. I'm not that type of player, so I'm still enjoying that. But once I get to level 50, I have my build. It kind of stalls a little bit. And now in Last Epoch, I haven't felt that as much. And I'm already level 50 something. And I still feel like I have so much to go. And I'm still doing the campaign. I haven't finished the campaign. I feel like I'm close to finishing it, but I haven't finished the campaign yet. but I do feel like I'm still discovering new things, and I still like I'm finding out and I still feel like I there's so many things I don't know. Um, so even though I don't have an opinion on those things that I don't know yet, like I haven't gone to the end, I haven't gotten to the end game yet. So maybe I'll do another video talking about the end game. But so far, I still feel excited. I still feel like I'm finding out, like I'm discovering, like I'm learning new things in the game and experiencing new things in the game. For whereas in Diablo 4, even at launch, when I got to level 50, I remember like in season 0, I like to call it season 0 before season 1. I remember I created like 3 characters, and none of them I got them to 100. None of the characters I got to 100 because I just got tired. Now, granted, first season was harder in that sense because it was like everything was buffed, and then on season 1 and season 2 they started nerfing and started to balance the game or change things in the game in a way that you can level up faster and you can reach level 100 quicker. So, but it wasn't until level season 2 where I got my characters to level 100 because I kind of got bored. I honestly got bored in the middle of the way because your progression just stalls. And I haven't felt this in Last Epoch for these 15 hours that I've played. I'm still kind of excited about it. I'm still kind of, oh, like curious about what's next, what's going to happen. I still feel like changes in my characters every time I level up something or um, work on some of the skill trees. So, um, now, one of the things that I want to mention also about playing players, because again, I'm gonna repeat, I don't think PoE players are going to step down in terms of complexity, in terms of diversity of builds, step down in terms of breadth of game. Like PoE, it's such a huge game at the moment, and has so many systems built in already that I don't think that if you are a hardcore PoE player, you're going to feel, compelled with Last Epoch. However, the other way around, not the other way around, but coming from Diablo, I think there's much more chance that if you're uh, an avid Diablo player, maybe I think you should at least try Last Epoch. If you have $35, just give it a try. I think you might enjoy it. You might like it. Now, it's not as polished at the moment as Diablo 4, but tomorrow, as of the recording of this video, tomorrow the version 1 is going to release, and it's gonna include a patch that like has reworked. They reworked all the Regan for the characters, all the animations. There's a new lighting system. There's a lot of improvement for version 1, so we still don't have that as of the recording of this video. But based on what we have right now, the early access, the tail of the early access, um, the combat is not as polished and fluid as Diablo 4's, but its progression system, meaning its RPG systems, are very, very well done. Now you have a crafting system on Last Epoch. If you come from Diablo 4, which or Diablo in general doesn't have like a crafting system, at least 3 and 4. I don't remember if 2 has. Um, but they don't have a crafting system the same way they have a crafting system in Last Epoch. That's one thing that for you to start that has like a learning curve. Um, and I'm going to be making videos on this channel. Now, I'm not gonna be focusing only on Last Epoch as a content creator, if I consider myself a content creator anyways, but I am going to be I'm going to do some videos of my experience being a Last Epoch, intro player from a beginner for beginners. Um, that I hope you enjoy. So stick around. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, share. Let's talk about it. Go to the comments. What do you think about Last Epoch? Do you like it? Have you been playing it? Um, Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let's get into it. I'm excited. There's gonna be a few videos coming this week, just talking about Last Epoch and my experience playing for the first time and learning its systems. I'm not gonna call it a guide. I'm not gonna call it, a beginner's guide or something like that. It's just videos of me going through it, how I've learned, how I'm playing it, what I understand about it, and maybe a bunch of mistakes or errors that I thought, that's how it works, and people like you are going to be, no, this, that you're wrong, this is how it actually works. So I'm excited about that interaction, and yeah, stick around, subscribe, like, and take it easy, have fun. That's Epoch. Tomorrow I'm excited.